Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks Parlays. We're talking NFL action. Browns at Titans. College basketball is finally back, and we've got a promo code. The code is BALL for 15% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net. The Titans are favored minus 5.5. The total is 54. Both of these teams are 8-3, but not great against the number. The Browns are 4-7 against the spread. The Titans 5-6 against the spread. Both of these teams are 7-2-1 to the over, but 54 is pretty high. We've got Nick from the Insider's Room to break this one all down for us. Nick, what jumps out to you when you see these two teams on paper?
Well, just the fact that they're both 8-3, as you pointed out, that really does jump out at me. And Cleveland, especially there. Cleveland is 3-2 straight up on the road, but it's just 1-4 against the spread on the road. Tennessee is 4-2 straight up at home, and just 3-3 against the spread. These teams, I think, they're very similar in many respects. Each team's offense revolves around the run game. The Titans have arguably the best running back in the NFL in Derrick Henry. The Browns have arguably the best 1-2 punch in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. There's a lot of similarities between these teams' quarterbacks as well. Both Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield. They're obviously not on the same level as Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, but there's certainly a big step up from Sam Darnold or Carson Wentz. And each team's defense is pretty similar as well. They've struggled at times this year. Tennessee, it's 1-2 straight. It held on for the 30-24 victory at Baltimore. And then last week's 45-26 win at Indianapolis. The Titans have a game at Jacksonville next weekend, and the Browns, they beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville last weekend. They avoided that letdown spot there. They won 27-25. They weren't able to cover that 7.5-point spread, but these Browns, they continue to find ways to win. They have Baltimore up next, Chelsea. Cleveland, it's not going to be rolling over here, obviously. I think a lot of the money has already come in on the Titans at this point, and I think that could really be the case all the way up to kickoff. And so if you're going to take my advice here and you do like the Browns, my advice would be to wait closer until kickoff, because I do think that more money will come in on Tennessee. Yeah, overall, these units are super similar. I think Mayfield has the weapons around him to keep this one close. And so I'm going to grab the points here, Chelsea, against your red-hot home team. I think that there's going to be a battle right until the very end.
Well, the thing with the Titans, they seem to excel when nobody believes that they're going to be good. The problem is when they're favorites. I think they're 2-5 against the spread as favorites this season. But the Browns are a little like that too. I remember to open the season last year, everybody thought the Browns were going to be Super Bowl contenders, and the Titans went out and thumped them in the first game of the season. So these are two teams that are very similar in that regard, that when they have the hype, they're not very good sometimes. So it's hard to trust. And as a Titans fan, it's hard for me to take the Titans because sometimes you feel like you're being a homer, but I've got to believe what I've been seeing. The Titans have looked a lot better lately. I'm taking the Titans here. At least I think they can win by a touchdown, especially the way this offense has been firing. My goodness, Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than 20 entire NFL teams. That's insane, the numbers that he's been putting up. And then you've got Ryan Tannehill that's been doing good things despite being on his third left tackle this season. Constant injuries on the offensive line, but they've continued to do it pretty well, especially against a Colts team that was supposed to be really good. Putting up 40-plus points on a Colts team is not something to be taken lightly. And I think we're going to see a lot of points in this one as well. The problem is I don't think the Titans can probably stop the Browns' rush attack. Nick Chubb's been really good too. We talk about Derrick Henry, but Nick Chubb's been out of his mind, running all over the field as well. And the Browns have been a lot better since Chubb has returned. With Chubb, they're 6-1. Without, they're 2-2. And 199 rush yards per game with Chubb, 95 yards per game without. So a big difference maker he's been for their rush game. So I would look at a prop for Nick Chubb, probably to go over. I think both of these running backs go over their totals in this one if you like props. We don't have those in front of us right now because it's earlier in the week. Looking at a total, 54 is really high. Would you lean on anything when it comes to the total?
I think it's going to be a shootout too. You mentioned there you thought there was going to be some points scored. Nick Chubb is fantastic. Derrick Henry is fantastic. I think these two guys are going to be showcased here. That's really going to open up the play action for both of these quarterbacks who do like to sling it. Nick Chubb is complemented by Kareem Hunt. So this is a dangerous Cleveland attack, which has really adjusted over the last few weeks with the absence of OBJ. Another thing, the Cleveland offense has been slowed down somewhat from it playing at home. It had played to 3 straight unders. It finally went on the road there last week. It got the win. It didn't get the cover, but that total did go over as well. So yeah, I definitely like the over in this one, Chelsea.
Well, and especially because Cleveland has been playing in some really bad weather. We've seen two of their games have really low scoring affairs just because the weather's been so bad. If you remember that Raiders game, I think it was 16-6,
Yes.
just because the elements were absolutely terrible. So
Yeah,
we're filming this earlier in the
exactly.
week, but granted, if it's not, snowstorming, which I don't think
Yeah.
it's supposed to be, I think it should be favorable conditions for the Browns, especially since they run the ball a lot. And both of these run defenses not great. So, like I said, I think the running backs have a heyday in this one, even though I think the Titans defense is improving. And one thing I would like to point out about the Browns, they've beaten one team with a winning record. One. And then they got trounced by the Ravens and the Steelers. So how do you think they stack up to good competition? And does that affect what you're seeing here, or do you just like them because they're getting points?
That's a really good point, and I think that this is a true yardstick game for them here this week. You've mentioned some of that weather and different things that they've had to battle, also the OBJ issue, but they're coming off
Right.
the win. They put up a bunch of points on the road here, so there's no excuses this weekend. And so, yeah, I mean, we can disagree on the side here. We're both agreeing that we think there's going to be some points scored, but yeah, I think that this one's going to come down to whichever of these teams has the ball, their hands on the ball last, and in that case, I'm going to grab the points.
Yeah, and as you've mentioned, a lot of money coming in on the Titans. So this number is probably going to move. So if you do like the Titans, probably do it right away. And if you like the Browns, maybe wait till game time. So that's going to do it for our NFL talk here on Picks and Parlays. Great stuff from Nick from the Insiders Room. Nick, thanks for joining us.